Chapters 95 to 99 of Tristram Shandy, Volume 3. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Barry Eads. The Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy, Gentleman, Volume 3, by Laurence Sterne. Chapter 95. Was I in a condition to stipulate with death, as I am this moment with my apothecary, how and where I will take his clyster, I should certainly declare against submitting to it before my friends. And therefore I never seriously think upon the mode and manner of this great catastrophe, which generally takes up and torments my thoughts as much as the catastrophe itself. But I constantly draw the curtain across it with this wish, that the disposer of all things may so order it, that it happen not to me in my own house, but rather in some decent inn. At home, I know it, the concern of my friends, and the last services of wiping my brows, and smoothing my pillow, which the quavering hand of pale affection shall pay me, will so crucify my soul, that I shall die of a distemper which my physician is not aware of. But in an inn, the few cold offices I wanted would be purchased with a few guineas, and paid me with an undisturbed but punctual attention. But mark, this inn should not be the inn at Abbeville. If there was not another inn in the universe, I would strike that inn out of the capitulation. So, let the horses be in the chaise exactly by 4 in the morning. Yes, by 4, sir, or by Genevieve, I'll raise a clatter in the house shall wake the dead. Chapter 96. Make them like unto a wheel is a bitter sarcasm, as all the learned know, against the grand tour, and that restless spirit for making it, which David prophetically foresaw would haunt the children of men in the latter days, and therefore, as thinketh the great Bishop Hall, 'tis one of the severest imprecations which David ever uttered against the enemies of the Lord, and as if he had said, I wish them no worse luck than always to be rolling about. So much motion, continues he, for he was very corpulent, is so much unquietness, and so much of rest, by the same analogy, is so much of heaven. Now, I, being very thin, think differently, and that so much of motion is so much of life, and so much of joy, and that to stand still, or get on but slowly, is death and the devil. Hollo, ho, the whole world's asleep. Bring out the horses, grease the wheels, tie on the mail, and drive a nail into that moulding. I'll not lose a moment. Now the wheel we are talking of, and whereinto, but not whereunto, for that would make an Exion's wheel of it, he curseth his enemies, according to the bishop's habit of body, should certainly be a post-chaise wheel, whether they were set up in Palestine at that time or not. And my wheel, for the contrary reasons, must as certainly be a cart wheel, groaning round its revolution once in an age, and of which sort, were I to turn commentator, I should make no scruple to affirm, they had great store in that hilly country. I love the Pythagoreans much more than I ever dare tell my dear Jenny, for they're Greek, they're getting out of the body in order to think well. No man thinks right whilst he is in it. Blinded as he must be with his congenial humours, and drawn differently aside, as the bishop and myself have been, with 2 lacs or 2/10 a fibre. Reason is, half of it, sense, and the measure of heaven itself is but the measure of our present appetites and concoctions. But which of the two, in the present case, do you think to be mostly in the wrong? You, certainly, quoth she, to disturb a whole family so early. Chapter 97. But she did not know I was under a vow not to shave my beard till I got to Paris. Yet I hate to make mysteries of nothing. 'Tis the cold cautiousness of one of those little souls from which Lessius, lib. 13, de moribus divinis, cap. 24, hath made his estimate, wherein he setteth forth that 1 Dutch mile, cubically multiplied, will allow room enough and to spare for 800,000 millions, which he supposes to be as great a number of souls, counting from the fall of Adam, as can possibly be damned to the end of the world. From what he has made this second estimate, unless from the parental goodness of God, I don't know. I am much more at a loss what could be in Franciscus Ribera's head, who pretends that no less a space than 1 of 200 Italian miles multiplied into itself will be sufficient to hold the like number. He certainly must have gone upon some of the old Roman sols, of which he had read, without reflecting how much, by a gradual and most tepid decline, in the course of 1800 years, they must unavoidably have shrunk, so as to have come, when he wrote, almost to nothing. In Lysias's time, who seems the cooler man, they were as little as can be imagined. We find them less now, and next winter we shall find them less again. So that if we go on from little to less, and from less to nothing, I hesitate not one moment to affirm, that in half a century, at this rate, we shall have no souls at all. Which being the period beyond which I doubt likewise of the existence of the Christian faith, 'twill be one advantage that both of them will be exactly worn out together. Blessed Jupiter, and blessed every other heathen god and goddess, for now ye will all come into play again, and with Priapus at your tails. What jovial times! But where am I? And into what a delicious riot of things am I rushing? I who must be cut short in the midst of my days, and taste no more of 'em than what I borrow from my imagination. Peace to thee, generous fool, and let me go on. Chapter 98. So hating, I say, to make mysteries of nothing, I entrusted it with the postboy, as soon as ever I got off the stones. He gave a crack with his whip to balance the compliment, and with the thill horse trotting, and a sort of an up and a down of the other, we danced it along to Aliou Cloches, famed in days of yore for the finest chimes in the world. But we danced through it without music, the chimes being greatly out of order, as in truth they were through all France. And so making all possible speed, from Aliou Cloches I got to Hickscourt, from Hickscourt I got to Peguinet, and from Peguinet I got to Amiens, concerning which town I have nothing to inform you, but what I have informed you once before, and that was, that Jonatone went there to school. Chapter 99. In the whole catalogue of those whiffling vexations which come puffing across a man's canvas, there is not one of a more teasing or tormenting nature than this particular one which I am going to describe, and for which, unless you travel with an advance courier, which numbers do in order to prevent it, there is no help, and it is this: that be you in never so kindly a propensity to sleep, though you are passing perhaps through the finest country, upon the best roads, and in the easiest carriage for doing it in the world, nay, was you sure you could sleep 50 miles straight forwards without once opening your eyes? Nay, what is more, was you as demonstratively satisfied as you can be of any truth in Euclid, that you should upon all accounts be full as well asleep as awake? Nay, perhaps better. Yet the incessant returns of paying for the horses at every stage, with the necessity thereupon of putting your hand into your pocket, and counting out from thence 3 livres 15 sous, sou by sou, puts an end to so much of the project that you cannot execute above 6 miles of it, or supposing it is a post and a half, that is but 9, were it to save your soul from destruction. I'll be even with 'em, quoth I, for I'll put the precise sum into a piece of paper and hold it ready in my hand all the way. Now I shall have nothing to do, said I, composing myself to rest, but to drop this gently into the postboy's hat, and not say a word. Then there wants 2 sous more to drink. Or there is a 12-sou piece of Louis XIV which will not pass, or a livre and some odd liards to be brought over from the last stage, which monsieur had forgot, which altercations, as a man cannot dispute very well asleep, rouse him. Still is sweet sleep retrievable, and still might the flesh weigh down the spirit, and recover itself of these blows. But then, by heaven, you have paid but for a single post, whereas 'tis a post and a half, and this obliges you to pull out your book of post roads, and print of which is so very small, it forces you to open your eyes, whether you will or no. Then Monsieur le Curé offers you a pinch of snuff, or a poor soldier shows you his leg, or a shaveling his box, or the priestess of the cistern will water your wheels. They do not want it, but she swears by her priesthood, throwing it back, that they do. Then you have all these points to argue, or consider over in your mind, in doing which the rational powers get so thoroughly awakened you may get 'em to sleep again as you can. It was entirely owing to one of these misfortunes, or I had passed clean by the stables of Chantilly. But the postilion first affirming, and then persisting in it to my face, that there was no mark upon the 2-sou piece, I opened my eyes to be convinced, and seeing the mark upon it as plain as my nose, I leaped out of the chaise in a passion, and so saw everything at Chantilly in spite. I tried it but for 3 posts and a half, but believe 'tis the best principle in the world to travel speedily upon, for as few objects look very inviting in that mood, you have little or nothing to stop you, by which means it was that I passed through St. Denis, without turning my head so much as on one side towards the Abbey. Richness of their treasury, stuff and nonsense! Bating their jewels, which are all false, I would not give 3 sous for any one thing in it, but Jadis's lantern, nor for that either, only as it grows dark it might be of use. End of chapters 95 to 99. So order it, that it happen not to me in my own house, but rather in some decent inn. At home, I know it, the concern of my friends, and the last services of wiping my brows, and smoothing my pillow, which the quavering hand of pale affection shall pay me, will so crucify my soul, that I shall die of a distemper which my physician is not aware of. But in an inn, the few cold offices I wanted would be purchased with a few guineas, and paid me with an undisturbed but punctual attention. But mark, this inn should not be the inns of Tristram Shandy, Gentleman, Volume 3, by Laurence Sterne. Chapter 95. Was I in a condition to stipulate with death, as I am this moment with my apothecary, how and where I will take his clyster, I should certainly declare against submitting to it before my Chapters 95 to 99 of Tristram Shandy, Volume 3. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Barry Eads. The life and opinion of my friends, and therefore I never seriously think upon the mode and manner of this great catastrophe, which generally takes up and torments my thoughts as much as the catastrophe itself. But I constantly draw the curtain across it with this wish, that the disposer of all things may